Today on Dragonlance for 5th edition, we're going to return to character creation and talk a little bit more about how to handle magic users in Krynn. Okay, so this actually came up on in a comment that we're going to get to the comment by Chaplain Ray. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for the comment, because this really got me thinking for several months. But a comment on one of my videos for if you're new to the channel. I'm playing Dragonlance. I'm running a game of Dragonlance right now, but I'm taking kind of the old modules, mixing the first, second, and third 3.5 edition versions together and running them in 5th edition. And so a lot of what we do here is, kind of go through what, my pitfalls have been, kind of my solutions to thing, kind of giving, breathing into this world a little bit, making some of the situations more interesting, expanding them a little bit, kind of just giving DM tips in general. Now, normally this is where I'd give spoilers for players not to go any further, but we're not actually going to go into the plot at all here. We're going to talk about magic users. I started this series a while back. I was not satisfied with the first 3 videos I did, so I restarted the series, but this comment actually ended up on one of my original series videos, and it made me realize that even my second attempt at character creation was not quite full enough, and I really needed to pay more attention to the magic users of the party. And this is why. In Dragonlance World, in Krynn, there's this organization called the Towers of High Sorcery, and they are, they're basically the enforcement wing of the magic users. They do require you to register with them to and pass the test of high sorcery before they let you out to wreak havoc on the countryside. You, as a magic user, are supposed to take the test of high sorcery before level 5. Why is that? Because at level 5, that's when you gain 3rd level spells, and that's when the wizards of the towers really feel like we need to keep an eye on that person, because if you're casting fireball and you don't know what you're doing, then you could be in trouble. So you were supposed to take the test of high sorcery. Next video, we're going to talk about the test of high sorcery and how to run it. And this was my favorite. I know at least one of my players said it was her favorite dungeon that we've done so far, and it was a blast. And so I'm really looking forward to telling you about that. But we're going to do that next time. Right now, I want to get to this test. If you do not take the test and you get 3rd level spells, by the way, if you stick at level 4 and you go off and start gaining levels in something else, the towers don't care. You can cast level 2 spells all day long. It's when you start casting level 3 spells that they're going to have something to say to you. And so if you do not take the test and you proceed to move forward, then you become a renegade wizard, and they will actually hunt you down and try to kill you, which they are good at because they're very high level wizards and all. That could be a fun aspect of your game. Up to you, up to you. In my game, my wizard did take the test. The test can be very, very deadly. She did survive it, and gained the robes therein. But I'll tell you more about that next time. But when we first did the character creation, I said I really like this system. I want to keep this system. It adds some really cool elements to it, and so that's great. But what Chaplain Ray asked me was, okay, that's great, but do you do the same thing with sorcerers and warlocks? And I hadn't thought about it. And my instinct was just, yeah, that's fine. But without actually looking at what these groups really represent and how they might relate to the towers themselves. So there's a lot of stuff that we're just not going to get into here. Okay. Any sort of healing magic there's a whole separate system for that. And if you know the plot of Dragonlance Chronicles, the original modules, then you know how that plays into things. And we're not even going to deal with it. There are other classes that will eventually get third level spells of their own, like a ranger, but they're not really the same as third level like wizard spells. Okay. And so my instinct there is just to say, yeah, the tower's not really worried about that. Those are pretty minor things. The kind of one that I thought was borderline is the druid. And where I'm coming down on that is I think that druid magic is foreign enough to the to what the wizards do that they're going to leave that alone. And you can totally kind of look at it and come to a conclusion yourself and kind of fit this in with anything that you really want. But even once you start getting third level druid spells, they're still mostly very modifying nature, oriented, changing the battlefield and stuff. There are like attack spells in there, but that is not the focus of the druid, where it is the focus of like a wizard. And so that's my instinct, is just to say they're outside the system. You may come to a different conclusion. So really the three that we're worried about are the sorcerer, the warlock, and the wizard. Now, I'm going to actually start with the warlock, because Chaplain Ray and he says that he heard this from someone else, but I'm not sure who, but actually pointed out something really, really cool here. The warlock worked a little more like Dragonlance, in that the character's patron was that moon's god that would be strictly held in check by such after death. So this is a really good point, because in Dragonlance, our source of magic is actually a little bit different than just straightforward Dungeons and Dragons. The wizard gets power from the moon. There are 3 moons, and they are actually deities. And the wizard draws power from those moons. And it has this really, really cool, one of my favorite aspects of the magic users in Dragonlance is that whether the moon is full, new, waxing, waning, that actually affects the wizard's power. I love this. And it does take a little bit of extra work to track the moons as they go, but I absolutely love this aspect of it. But he's actually right. This is like a warlock, right? Now, I looked in the 3.5 edition of the Dragonlance modules, and it doesn't actually mention warlocks in the book of the Tower of High Sorcery. And the warlock is actually introduced the exact same year as that book was published. And so I'm kind of thinking they just didn't know about it yet, or we're ignoring it because it's not one of the base magic users of the game. By the way, sorcerers in that book, sorcerers and wizards are handled the same in that book. There's no differentiation, which we're not going to do. I like the approach that we're going to do that a little bit differently, but we're going to get to that. So the warlock is actually pretty well described by this. You're getting magic from your patron. And so there's room here for the warlock to fit right in to the existing system. If the patron is one of our 3 moons. The way I think I'm going to play this in the future is that if the patron is something else, then that is probably going to be viewed by the towers as a threat. and therefore be lumped into the renegade category, which I mentioned before could be really fun to play with. Could be really fun to play with, given the right circumstances in your game. Despite the fact that the magic system in Krynn actually describes a warlock better than a wizard, I think we're just leaving our wizard as is, and this is as much. Well, there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, I don't think that the system works if 90% of the magic users in Krynn are renegades. You know what I mean? If like most warlocks are renegades, all wizards are renegades, and all sorcerers are renegades, that tilts the balance of power. And I think that the wizards, the towers of high sorcery are only really effective if most of the magic users are registered magic users, licensed to do magic. And so partly because of that, and partly because of tradition, but I do think that this is a cool modification of the wizard's just basic setup, but also minor enough that it adds like a little bit of a cool element there without really taking away from the wizard at all. And so I'm gonna, in my games, as I have been doing with my wizard, lumping this into that same category as being under the Towers of High Sorcery, and will have to take the test before level 5. Just like our warlocks, if they want to, if one of the moons is their patron, will be needing to take the test. And so that is going to leave us with our sorcerers. Now, Chaplain Ray it actually mentioned kind of the same direction that I'm going on this, is that warlocks, sorcerers are just as a group renegades. A lot of the feel of the warlock is going back to that wild mage tradition that has always kind of been seen as the as the outsider drawing this raw power that they can barely control, if they can control it at all. And I would lean toward the sorcerer being viewed by the Towers of High Sorcery as dangerous and needing to be controlled. And by that I mean killed, and so that's kind of where I'm landing on these. That being said, one of the fun things about not having an updated version of Dragonlance is you can do whatever you want with this, and I do think it would be fun to have some renegades, to play with a renegade in your party, and to have that extra element of danger that, as you're going into certain areas, that might run into some magic users, that you and your party might be in danger because of that. Even in those cases where, you're trying to work together with these people, but are they going to turn on you because of this person and all? I think that'd be a lot of fun. And so if you go that direction, that would be very cool. So, what happens if you level up to level 5 before you can actually attend the test? Now, that we're going to talk a little bit about this next time. That's not really necessarily a problem. That you can be magically summoned to the test at any time. I like the test in a particular area, and it's when my wizard is level 4, and we're going to talk about that next time. But that being said, you can generally, if you don't want to incur the wrath of the Towers of High Sorcery and become a renegade wizard who needs to be killed, what the wizard would normally do is just hold on to that level increase and not level up until the test is completed, and then you as a DM can immediately give them that 5th level, and that would work as well. I don't the towers would not look too kindly on you being just flippantly throwing around level 3 spells, and then later come to them and kind of wanting to be legitimized. My instinct is they would not appreciate that. So there's a lot more to talk about in regards to the Towers of High Sorcery. There is a 3.5 edition book that's specifically on the towers and their structure and all that. There's a lot of cool stuff in that book. I think in general, the 3rd edition, there was too much information given out. But that being said, there's a lot of fun stuff, but we're going to talk about that more next time. And so if you haven't subscribed, please do hit the subscription button down there. Hit the little bell icon. That's going to notify you when the next video comes out. It would really also help a lot if you did leave a comment and you gave the thumbs up. That lets YouTube know that people are digging this, and so that will get YouTube to send more people my way. In addition, just like with Chaplain Ray, and this comment was amazing, and it caused me to reflect a lot on the way this would work out, and so I'm always thankful for comments like that, and anything else you comment. I really do appreciate it. And so with that done, we'll be back soon with the test of High Sorcery, which was again an absolute blast to do. And do appreciate you hanging on this long, and we will catch you next time.